Now we have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker of the second session, Vanessa Anseloni, who will be presenting Therapy of Past Lives. Please remember to write down any questions and submit them to one of the volunteers for our Q&A session at the end of the day. Vanessa Anseloni, Doctor of Psychology and PhD, is a neuroscientist and psychologist. She has worked for 18 years on the faculty at the University of Maryland. She founded the School of Emotion. A fifth-generation Spiritist, Dr. Anseloni is the founder and former president of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. She also founded and is the president of the Spiritist Society of Virginia and the Spiritist Group of Washington, D.C. Vanessa is a Spiritist medium, a fraternal counselor, and she coordinates spiritual treatments and workshops in the U.S. and worldwide. She's also the co-author of the book, The New Generation with Divaldo Franco, and is the editor-in-chief of the Spiritist magazine. Dr. Vanessa is the founder of Kardec Radio. Please welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Everyone here has a cell phone, right? If I ask you, between your cell phone and mine, what is possibly the difference? Yeah, the capacity, the brand, the model. But let me ask you, does the pictures I take make a difference? Does it define my phone? It makes a difference, of course, processing everything. But does it define my phone at all? Whatever application you're using, etc., does it define your phone? I'm going to ask once again. Let's think very deeply about this. Because it's not about the phone, it's about you and me. It seems it's about the phone, but it's about us. Do the applications I have in my phone, on your phone, or the pictures I have, files in general, do they define our phones? Okay, that's valid. Fantastic. As science says, we better start any project with lots of intriguing questions, and this is one of them. Does the experiences we have define us? Do the experiences we have had throughout many lives define us in our essence? You know, as a teacher, we love talking to one another. So let's repeat the question. Do the experiences we have lived define our essence? Okay, so the next question is, who are you or who am I? Who are we? As Virginia, my 3-year-old daughter, said the other day, I was telling her, she's right there on the back, and I said, Virginia, you need to be kind, telling myself too. You need to be gentle. You know, when you do this, that, and the other. And she said, no, Mom, I'm not what you were saying. I am a spirit. That is already recorded there. So we are going to repeat the question. Do the experiences we have lived this far, since we were created, define who we are in essence? Why not? Because, as Virginia said, okay, thank you, Virginia, for the reminder. We're spirits. But what does that mean? If I go back in time, the philosophers, many of them were great thinkers of humanity. They thought about our true essence, like Thomas Hobbes. No, our true essence is not good. Rousseau instead, he brought to us the essential element that later is going to inspire Pestalozzi, and then the educator, Professor Revile, and the pen name Allan Kardec. Our essence is good. So whether I have pictures of good or bad things here, it does not define my form. What you have lived this far does not define, does not limit you. When people ask us in Spiritism, should I do past lives regression therapy? According to the Spiritist literature and to our reasoning, because I don't need to ask Divaldo Franco or the Spirit mentors or anybody, because once we have reasoning, we can filter it through it. Because our faith is not blind, as Allan Kardec said. It's unshakable because we're going to use our reasoning. And the reasoning tells us that it depends. Because regression therapy, past lives regression therapy, or past lives therapy, whatever we name it, it's going to help us reorganize these files we have inside of us that are impacting the processing of our system. As if I call an expert to come to my computer and say, please, this computer is having so many problems. Something is not right. And this person is going to help us free its capacity of what is taking a hold of it. Amália Domingo Soler, one of the greatest Spiritist figures of all times, a Spanish Spiritist who to date in the spiritual realm has been taking care with Leon Denis and many others, care of the Spiritist movement around the world. When she was incarnated, she wrote books from her experiences at mediumistic tables, working with other mediums, working with her own mentors. But the beauty of it all is that she shared with us in a very specific book, in Spanish titled Hechos que Prueban, which is available. You just Google Hechos que Prueban. Or in Portuguese, Reincarnação e Vida. And I will give you the latest version that was translated and released in 15 special cases by our friend Luis Hu, who is here, who is the Spiritist Walt Disney. Yes, he is recreating a new space for youth and children. In these cases, Amália tells us of reincarnation scenarios and how important it is to reorganizing these memories that may be taking a lot of space and limiting us from functioning. But do you need to go to the therapist office? It depends. Let me give you a case of hers. The obsessing grandmother. We always think grandmothers are so sweet, right? We never think they are obsessors of anybody. But you know, Spiritism reveals many things that actually happen and we don't actually realize. Amália Domingo Soler had a friend named Teodora Ortiz, a woman who was of the high society of the time. She met Amália. She was a Spiritist as well. And she said, Amália, I'm going to write you a letter telling you about my case because I would need your help and the help of the good spirits. People who are suffering. Who in this room can raise your hand and say, I have no suffering at all? Please present yourself immediately. because we want to know if you are Jesus. Because even Jesus, according to Umberto de Campos, he often displayed, and still does, that melancholic look. So none of us can claim we have no issue to resolve. And Theodora Ortiz, as a good spiritist, who is working on herself, she said, I need help. And she said, Amalia, in her letter, my husband's grandmother discarnated 13 years ago. And she has been harassing me spiritually. Unimaginable. And she says, sometimes she comes and she wants to strangle me. Why? I don't get it. What have I done? I know I have done choices in the past lives that were not wise, but I don't understand. In this life, we didn't have anything that explains her harassing me after 13 years of discarnation. Please consult the spirits. Parenthesis here for us spiritists who are working in spiritist centers. We really need to use the tools we have responsibly to reach out to people who are suffering. Because if people come with the same requests, we may be playing just like the hypocrites at Jesus' time, the Pharisees, that think mediumship's just for a few, and you cannot talk about even spirits to spiritists. If I say I'm seeing the spirits who are here, like, Vanessa is fascinated. How can we help people who are coming in this critical time on the earth if we don't use with responsibility, but use the tools that we have at hand? Right now, recently, we got a call from a spiritist center elsewhere who exists for more than 25 years, far away from where we're living in Virginia, far away, and said, you know, my son needs help, but in our center, we don't have a mediumistic meeting, and we don't have help for people who are obsessed. Is this really a spiritist center? Do you have an emergency, spiritual emergency kit for people who enter your doors? Or you're going to say, I'm sorry, go talk to your psychiatrist. We have nothing to offer. Amalia Domingo Soler never turned anybody down like Jesus never turned anybody down. Chico Xavier never turned anybody down. On the contrary, she was very respectful, so she consulted the spirits. And in a beautiful account, they explain, at the time of Inquisition, how many of us here may be reincarnated from that time? Hopefully not repeating the mistakes. Because recently, there was a book published named Repetition. A psychologist who does regression therapies in the United States, she says, most often than not, we repeat the same mistakes. Because we're conditioned beings. That's why we need the light of discernment called Spiritism, to turn our lives around and say, I can learn the new. And as Emmanuel says in a book titled Thought in Life, he says, evolution requires that we acquire new habits. Are we new and renewed? I cannot judge about others, but I can look at myself in the mirror and see beyond the files, in my essence. What else do I need to develop? Back to Theodora Ortiz. Her husband's grandmother, who is in the spiritual realm, harassing her, willing to strangle her In a previous life, that grandmother was an inquisitor. A man. Yes, reincarnated as a man. Big deal. If it's a big deal for you, be ready, because the next one may be the opposite, okay? So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Okay? And love the body, respecting the cells of the body, respecting the beauty of the divine presence in it. But Teodora Ortiz learned that that grandmother in the past was an inquisitor. Who met her? Teodora was a beautiful young woman who was about to be engaged with a man she loved. Both very naively consulted with the man, the inquisitor, asking for guidance, for blessings. When he saw Theodora in that life, he fell in love with her. And his ego, right? Swear to himself that she was gonna be his. He created a plot against the couple, trying to separate them. But they didn't separate. They went away, far away. They got married. And later they got to know that that man, the inquisitor, was dead. After that reincarnation, they all got together, a gathering in the spiritual realm. By the good spirits, they put everybody together, and they realized we need to love one another. We better do this now than later. Some people postpone. Next life is going to be much harder. But what is interesting here is that the spirit mentors revealed, because Spiritism brings to us revelations, taking the veil out of what we couldn't see before, that the grandmother is the reincarnation of that man. The husband of Theodora, not in this life, but in that previous life, reincarnated as her daughter. I know it's a little puzzling, right? But believe me, it's the true story. So the husband in that life now is Theodora's daughter. And Theodora is reincarnated. Supposedly, they are together. Not too much, but close. When we look at relatives like saying, shh, like a speck in the universe, they are more important to us than we imagine. It's like successive approximations, as we say in behavioral therapy. The importance of little by little bringing back those things that create phobia, that create aversion, so we are not that sensitive anymore. If you're living in the United States, depending on where we're living in, it's the allergy season, right? It's that allergy we're talking about spiritually. To treat it, we need successive approximations to wash away those points of tension. Because at the end of the day, we learn we are all vibrating beings. Like the phone, we vibrate. And that is what now we need to pay attention to. When we go back to the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, there are beautiful questions about the processing of our memories of the past. Questions 392 to 399. And in those few questions, Kardec asks all the questions that we may be asking about how much can we access this file? Should we, shouldn't we? And the bottom line is, overall, you don't need to. Because if you pay attention to your instinctive tendencies, this is exactly the expression that the spirits used to teach us. Pay attention to mine, instinctive tendencies. Those will tell you about your previous lives. Our previous experiences, everything is learning. We're here to learn and to serve, as Emmanuel says in the book Living Spring. That's the bottom line for us all. When people ask, Vanessa, why am I here? As far as I know, to learn and to serve. The question is, learn what and serve who? Because there are people who are serving either the passing personality, the passing status, or they are learning to serve God. That unites us all. I was talking to a friend, John Santos, from Spiritist Radio, a sister radio now. We have 2 radios in English in the world now. Kardec Radio, Spiritist Radio, which is great. And I was talking to him this past week, and we were chatting about the realization that there's no difference between good and good. There's only the difference between good and evil. 2 radios, good and good. The only difference is about good and not good. Light, darkness. In Spiritism, in whatever way we mold it, it's only the good. So when we talk about the need of organizing our instinctive tendencies with the help of a therapist or with the help of anybody else, the good spirits or guardian angels, whatever way, what is important is that we are ready to free ourselves from the limitations. So I will refer again because this book, Thought and Life, is, says Emmanuel, through Chico Xavier, the summary of the guidelines that are given in the schools of regeneration in the spiritual realm before we reincarnate. It gives us the directions, a summary. It's very thin. And here he says, if you want to free yourselves from the shackles of the past, who is not presenting any shackles, any limitations? We all are. You want to be free? Me too, even Elsa from Frozen. I learned through Virginia, she says, now I'm free, let it go, let it go. And we want to let go of the past too. And Emmanuel knows we want to let go of the past. And he says there's one recipe, and this is written in chapter 10 of the book Thought and Life by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. If you want to be free from the shackles of the past, easy recipe, huh? Some people here already know. We need to seek the good, feel the good, right, Lé Severo? Visualize the good and mold the good with all the resources we have at hand. Can we repeat that so we don't forget? This is Emmanuel's instructions from high above. He says, seek means you need to make effort. Me too. André Luiz, in the book Evolution into Worlds, he says, To evolve, we need effort and repetition. So when our children say, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard, try again. I have a friend named Luiz Eduardo Falcaça de Almeida. He's not here. But I remember he was sharing something about his childhood. He said, he made it public, so that's why I can share. He said, when he was little, he told his father, Father, I don't want to study. You know children, sometimes they're tired. And his father very wisely said, Luis, go back, sit down and study. Thanks to that and to Louis' efforts, he became a physician and a scientist and a man of the good. Effort is inevitable. In the poetry given by the spirits through Chico Xavier, which is something that even in Portuguese people don't pay much attention. But we need to give more room to this beautiful nourishment for the soul in the Spiritist poetry. Casimiro Cunha, in a book that is barely read, given to me by another friend. Thank God through Spiritism we make so many friends. And as my friend John de Rosa said, eternal friends. These are not passing friends. He said, Gotas de Luz, Adriano Barbo from Mount Vernon Spiritist Center in New York gave me this book, Gotas de Luz, and I've been reading, I bring it everywhere because it's so inspirational. But throughout the literature of Casimiro Cunha, he reveals to us that one of the most critical things is laziness, which is the opposite hand of effort. We need to make effort, yes. So that's why Emmanuel says, seek, meaning we have to work on it and then feel it. That's why Jesus said, Nicodemus, knowing the scriptures is not enough, you forgot to feel them. Are you feeling it, friends? Can you feel it? We need to feel it. Seek the good, feel the good, and then visualize the good. Like Joana de Angelis taught Divaldo Franco, to whom turned 90 yesterday. We owe a great deal to Divaldo Franco. Many blessings, much gratitude to Divaldo, to Joana de Angelis and all the spirits, but visualize the good, which also requires effort. And then, if it's not enough, Emmanuel says, mold, sculpt the good with all the resources you have at hand. And that's why Jesus said to us, we need to learn to be peacemakers to inherit the earth. You want to stay on the earth? We better become peacemakers. We have no training on the earth on being a peacemaker. We need to create educational systems at all ends to teach ourselves, to share with the new generations and the older ones, mechanisms to become peacemakers. It's not counterintuitive. We really need to make a conscious effort. And we're yet to open that frontier so we can truly inherit the earth. If you're concerned about the current government in the United States or in the world, in North Korea or anywhere else, don't. Because deep inside, as Mentor Joseph said to me recently, Vanessa, don't be worried. Believe in your own vibrational contribution. Are you contributing daily into peace or to war? And it's not to the world. It's to everybody whom you encounter. Are you vibrating to each one peace or the war, competition, which amongst us spiritists should never, ever exist? If it does, we're the ones creating a lot of problem for Jesus, who said to us, peace on earth and goodwill amongst men. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, friends.